Hello, lovely community. I was sick the last few days, but I'm going to try my best to entertain you with our research nevertheless. But I had not that much time to prepare this talk since I had to lay down. So, like it was said, I'm Jonas, and I'm going to talk about drivers and goals of organizational security awareness. And I wanted to start this talk with 3 random facts about security awareness and training, which motivates our work. The first is, security awareness and training is big business. It's basically a multi-billion-dollar market where dozens of vendors sell phishing simulations, e-learnings, online platforms for training and communication to companies of all different types and sizes. And for example, KnowBe4, the biggest vendor, was just acquired for 4.6 billion, and the market is ever growing. So there seems to be a high demand for security and awareness and training solutions for organization. The second fact, last year we presented a paper where, among other things, we found that chief information security officers like to employ awareness and training in their organizations, but not for the reasons that we academics would believe, because we would believe they should do it to increase security behaviors of the employees, right? But they did it for something else. For example, to the phishing simulations to generate numbers to present to management. And the third fact is, there are increasing numbers of regulations that explicitly require organizations to implement some form of awareness and training, such as the new NIS2 Critical Infrastructure Directive in the European Union. And KnowBe4 again on their website state in the US, there are over 8,000 different regulations for different companies requiring awareness and training. So all this motivated Simon and myself to ask, what are the real incentives for organizations to implement awareness and training? Is it really this increased security, or is it something else? And then next we ask ourselves, who is responsible to do this in organizations? Who are the people that do awareness and training? And it turns out those are security awareness managers. A security awareness manager is a dedicated role, especially found in bigger organizations, tasked with implementing, managing, maybe buying awareness and training. And from some public numbers, we know that even smaller companies might have them, but they are in mixed roles. But larger companies really have dedicated sub-managers, or security awareness managers, just tasked with all these activities. And it turns out there's basically not that much research about these managers and what they think about their tasks. So there is this sense awareness report published every year, and there they survey some managers, for example, about their pain point, but it's not academic research. So the methodology is not transparent and so on. And then, of course, Julie from NIST and their team, they did research with awareness managers, but only within the US government, which is a very special population, right? So there is no general research with this population outside the US government. And this really motivated our research questions, combining those incentives with this population. So we wanted to understand what is awareness for those managers, how do they interact with employees, and how do they define success, and how do they measure success in their role. To do this, we did a good old interview study, and I tell you, it was super hard to recruit those 16 awareness managers, because just like I said, they only can be found, like the dedicated ones that really spend 100% or so of their time with awareness, can only be found in really large organizations, or those really willing to pay a lot for awareness. And so it took quite a bit, but we ended up with 16 interviews in the end, with 1 pilot. Just some stats about our participants. So we did this in Central Europe. Most came from Germany or the UK, but also from Denmark, Austria, and Switzerland. And we have a diverse set when it comes to gender and sector where they were employed. Disclaimer, I'm like almost done with my PhD, but I still have no clue how to properly visualize qualitative interview data. So if you see the next slide and maybe you have some good idea, you can approach me later. That would be super cool, because this is how all the results slides will look like now. Okay, let's dive into the results. First off, awareness is very differently defined by our participants. Some set it equal to phishing simulations, some disagree, some say training is something different this is like an engagement, and awareness is just a state of mind, but there's really no uniform decision. Also, a lot of our participants dislike to be called security awareness managers. They would rather become or called something like security communicators or employees, security advocates or something. And indeed, and it's hidden in this slide, but this is a big finding, we find that increased security or increased security behavior is indeed not the main goal of awareness activities in organizations. So if you look at this quote, the most further down quote, like from P4, that's an insane quote. What P4 is telling us here is that from their perspective, they failed an activity because the employees were too secure. So this led us to this conclusion that awareness activities might be a self-serving goal, which is bad, of course, because in academia, we hopefully believe that better security levels should be the goal of those activities. Unsurprisingly, phishing simulations were all around, but also active communication, like blog posts, and Microsoft Teams and newsletters and stuff like this, something that is really has not been researched so far. I mean, there are so many papers out there trying to improve some activities through gamification or so, but all this communication stuff is really has not been researched that much. And also, interestingly, most of our participants try to avoid face-to-face contact and direct engagement with employees, even if they are in an employee-facing role. Okay, all of our participants measured the success of their activities, but success for basically all of them was engagement in the activity. So how many participants were in our online sessions? How many participants read our blog posts? And only in a few cases they tested knowledge through quizzes, for example, and they never, in no instance, were able or did measure behavior change. For example, do my employees now use a password manager after we taught them? That's bad, right? And some participants were also transparent that they want to measure behavior, but they had struggles to do so. They had thought for a long time, but they couldn't find a good metric to measure behavior change. Why do managers rely on vendors? It's not because vendors build good products, but because those managers have to deliver awareness and training for tens of thousands of employees, and often they're lone wolves or in small teams, and it's too much. So they rely on vendors to bring in these platforms to really distribute the content. But they were often unsatisfied with what the vendors deliver. For example, that it was not tailored to the specific needs of the organizations. And then also when we directly ask our participants, do regulations influence your work? Most said, no. But between the lines, we really saw, yes, regulations drive how much awareness is implemented in organizations. And sometimes they also create friction. See, for example, this quote by P10, where they said, now we have to do this training on a specific task for a group of our employees in the stores that never use a computer. This disconnect between technical teams and the managers, that's a topic on itself. Maybe you should have a look at the paper. So, interestingly, there was this is a qualitative study, right? But we found we cannot make any statistical significant statements or so, but we saw a clean divide between the 5 UK-based managers and everyone else. The 5 UK-based managers, they were the only ones that said, I would like to be in a user supporting role. I want to be an advocate for usable security in my organization. I want to hear the pain points of my colleagues and work on this. And the Germans and all the others, they were like, no, not what's usable security. They've heard it before, but they were like, not, why should I think about this? Engagement is what I care about. And so there was this clean divide. And unfortunately, those managers also did not consider how much effort this training might be for employees. They complained that some of the activities are not mandatory yet, and they were hoping for getting more mandatory activities out to the employees. So that's kind of a divide. But to come to the most important slide, maybe, there's a chance here. I don't go through this in the order because I wanna start with the most important thing. So far, from all the research over the last years with boards we did, with chief information security officers, and now with security awareness managers, we find that there is no dedicated role for usable security in organizations. Yes, in engineering teams, in software development engineering teams, there might someone be responsible for usable security, but no one in an organizational setting, no one really collects the friction or pain points of the employees and it is tackling it. But we have this opportunity because there is a very employee-facing role, a security role, this awareness managers, and they would, from our perspective and from the perspective of our UK-based participants, be a natural choice to become those user advocates. So we would, and we will, Simon and myself, we will do this. We will continue to work with the UK-based community to see how we can help them and how we can continue the research journey there. Because I have to tell you, maybe you have different opinions, but from all our research, usable security really is not a term used in organizational security. They have awareness and training, but no usable security. And then, of course, security awareness and training is underspecified, and increased security behavior might not be the ultimate goal. And even if it is the ultimate goal, no one is measuring it right now. I mean, there might be some vendors out there that really providing the tool, but our managers, no one there reported to actually measuring it. Whew, okay, I'm through. Thank you so much for listening. The picture you see there, that's our Bochum team. Like, everyone on this picture is a researcher in human-centered and usable security. So if you want to come over to do an internship or something, there are also open job positions. Feel free. And of course, I'm happy to take any questions, and please also send emails to Simon and myself. Thanks.